Hey guys, welcome to my May 5th DVD update, where I talk about all the DVDs I've gotten over the last 2 weeks. The first film I got is a new film from Adam Rifkin called Look. I actually reviewed his last film, NASA Lampoon's The Stone Age, a couple of DVD updates ago. Basically a caveman comedy that he's the star of. I really like that one, so if you haven't seen The Stone Age, definitely check that one out. Well, his new film, Look, was shot entirely from the perspective of surveillance cameras. Basically follows around a bunch of different groups of people who come together at different points in the film. Two of the characters, these two high school girls. The one girl becomes fixated on her high school English teacher. She'll do anything. She basically tries to seduce him, so she follows him around everywhere, comes to his outside of his house, tries to sit with him at lunch. She's basically following him everywhere. Two other characters are these two guys who are in a convenience store. One of them works there, is Giuseppe Andrew's character, and he's an inspiring musician, so he's always playing his keyboard and singing his songs for his friend who's always hanging out there, played by Dougal. And there's one really funny scene when Giuseppe's playing his music, and then Miles Dougal is doing this ridiculous dance to it and falling all over the food and knocking everything over. I love that stuff. There was also, I think the other two characters. There's also a character who was this sort of sleazy manager, like a Macy's type place, who was basically sleeping with all the girls. So he'd go from, if one girl wouldn't sleep with him, he'd go to another one. The thing was, none of the girls knew about this. He said he would tell them all, "Don't tell anybody about this. This is our secret." The thing, when you're watching this movie, it really felt like real surveillance footage. It did not seem like fake or acted or anything. It seemed very realistic. And also the acting in this was so natural. And I really think it's because the cameras were hidden and not right on the characters. I also heard they're turning this into a TV show, which would be very cool because there's so much more to do with this. But I would definitely check this out. There's also a character in this who's this guy who's getting picked on at his work, and all the co-workers are doing these pranks on him. And the one co-worker who's doing the pranks is Lars. If you might recognize Lars from Heavyweights. But I really love this movie. And if you haven't seen Adam Rifkin's other film, definitely check out the other film he directed, Detroit Rock City. But I really, really love this movie. Like I said too, some of the stuff in this was so shocking to find out too, how there's a lot of places allow hidden cameras in the bathrooms, not in the stalls, but out front and like going into the stalls. They also have them in the dressing rooms. A lot of places you would not expect, and it's legal to do that, which is like, oh god. But I really like this. And there's also a scene, a cameo, I don't want to ruin it, but with the director, I just really like this movie. I just definitely checked this one out. The next one I got is a Kim Basinger film, you know, Vicky Vale from Batman. And like, I don't know of a whole lot of other things she's done lately. This is basically, she's this wife who's a stay-at-home wife who's getting abused by her husband, and her husband's this real asshole. And she goes out one night to do some last-minute Christmas shopping, and the mall's very busy. You know, you never go to the mall or anything like that during Christmas time like that, especially like the last 2 days. It's awful. It's like the time just to avoid all that. But basically, she can't find a spot, and there's this one car that's parking in between two spots. So eventually, when she does find a spot, she puts this note. It says, "Hey jerk, thanks for being inconsiderate and taking up 2 spots." So when she comes back to her car later, when she gets into her car, that car pulls up behind her, and this group of these thugs come out. And then they all start ganging up on her, and the security guard comes over to try and help her. The one guy accidentally shoots the security guard, and they're like, "You gotta get in." The girl gets in her car and like drives off, and like, "You gotta get that bitch, you gotta kill her. You can't let it, she's the one witness." So basically they follow her out. She drives off to this construction site where they're building new homes. She's hiding off, and the only thing she has to defend her, like her car breaks down at the construction site. It runs into this pole, and then it gets disconnected from the battery. It's very difficult to explain, but the only weapon she has is this steel toolbox that's in the back of her car. So she's basically ends up killing the characters off with the things in this toolbox. I really like this. I was surprised at how good this thing was. I was worried it was going to be like one of these real like bad, you know, direct-to-DVD kind of movies, but I really like this one. The next one I got is one that everyone kept telling me wasn't very good, and I kind of liked this movie. It was called The Uninvited, and it was this girl who was, her mother died in a fire, so she basically went crazy and went to like the nut house for a year. She comes back home, and she's seeing these weird creatures and seeing things. You've seen all this stuff before, but people, like one friend that knew something about what happened that night of the fire died off, like was found dead in the lake. I don't know, I thought this was pretty good, and there was a decent twist in this movie. But, I don't know, I really did like this. A lot of people said it was bad. I didn't even know until later that it was a remake of A Tale of Two Sisters. I would definitely check this one out. I did think it was pretty good. One Blu-ray I got for a really low price, and I think Rifkin tape traders might have screwed the price up. It was brand new. I got this The Fly for $7.99. And I really like this movie, The Fly. And it's one of the, like, you know, when they talk about good remakes, I think this was a good remake. And it was also added a lot new. It was really different than the original. It wasn't like just remaking it, doing the same thing again. It's basically about the character Brendecke, who's invented these capsules where you can transfer one capsule to another through like teleporting. And he's doing the experiment, and he does it on animals, and first it isn't working. Then he finally thinks he perfects it, and he goes in to transfer himself through the thing, and a fly ends up being in there with him, and it submerges into his body and makes him, it gets very strange what happens to him. He starts transforming into this fly, and like things are falling off of him, and there's some very disgusting scenes. He starts throwing up this vomit stuff that melts his food, and if it gets on anybody, it would burn their skin off. Very strange movie, but I really do like this one a lot. A lot of people on like comments say that movie was so gross. Yes, it was very gross, and I would not recommend eating a big meal while you watch this. Another one I got, which has kind of a strange cover to it, is Dog Soldiers, and a lot of people told me to watch this one. I actually saw this a long time ago. I don't remember a whole lot about what it was about. I do remember it was about a group of these missionaries or something going out to find somebody. I can't remember everything, but they get killed off by these, one by one, by this werewolf creature thing. I did really like this one. I looked at it for a minute on Blu-ray, though. It doesn't look very good on Blu-ray. It looks pretty much just the same as the DVD. It doesn't even look like they really did much to it. The next one I got is a new film from the director of City of Lost Children, or one of the two directors of City of Lost Children, Dante 01. And this was okay. I think there was a lot of controversy about this movie not being finished and running out of money. So some of the effects in these were really bad, and then one of them involves a scene that's like the same footage looped over for like a minute straight, which was really, and it was a bad, it was like if you're going to loop footage for a minute, it should be something good. It wasn't good footage looped. But it's basically about this prisoner of, like, everyone in space, I think, shaves their head for some reason. I don't remember why. I'm guessing bugs or something. But everyone in this movie, it's a prison ship, and it's like the prisoners get locked in this whole area of the ship by themselves and are watched by cameras. And this one girl comes on the ship with this new serum that's supposed to, like, it's a new treatment for these insane patients that are, you know, the prisoners. And they start trying it out, and it does these weird effects, and the one guy is like seeing these creatures and he eats them. It's very difficult to explain this movie. It was so strange. I don't even think you can understand it. Anyone will understand what the hell is going on in this thing. I did like one scene when they have to swim through this boiling water, and the one character gets wrapped up in all this stuff, and he starts melting in it. That was pretty cool. The one character in this, though, the one actor, well, two of them are from City of Lost Children. The one really weird guy who has this, the one weird, like the old guy, and the other one who was in Alien Resurrection, which was his only English-speaking film. But I don't know, this was okay. There were some cool aspects of this, but it was not good all around. Next one I just found, I didn't even know this came out, I found it at Walmart, is The Jetsons, the movie. Every time I think of this movie, I don't know if anyone else does, I always think of the Wendy's commercials. Because when this first came out, like, you don't normally see Wendy's sponsoring toys much, but Wendy's had this huge campaign for the Jetsons movie. I think they even had a commercial for it in the theaters talking about Wendy's, like before the film or something like that. But Wendy's had these cool Jetsons toys. Some of the only few Jetsons toys I ever remember them even making. I actually have all of them. And the thing is, the only problem with this movie was with the DVD of it, it doesn't look like they did any effort in remastering this. It looks like they took it from the original film. They didn't clean it up at all. I don't know, I really do like this movie, though. One thing I found out that was interesting, though, was Judy's voice, who was replaced in this movie by Tiffany. They didn't replace her because the actress was dead or anything like that. She actually recorded the audio. They wanted to put Tiffany in it because Tiffany at the time was, you know, big news. The only thing with this movie was, accidentally got aged itself and dated itself by accident, I think. It, like, you know, when you look at the Jetsons, the original show, it has no year to it. You can't say, oh, that's this year. You can just tell it's the future. With this one, it made the future an 80s future. And like a future with the 80s quality to it. So it kind of aged it by accident. And like a lot of kids nowadays and some people watching this would go, this is really dated. And it shouldn't have been dated because, you know, something like this, you know, certain movies have a business being, like if they're set in the 80s, but this was set in the future and they made it look like the 80s. With Back to the Future, it looked like the way we thought it was going to look. With this, it was just totally 80s quality. I do like it though. The next one I got is very difficult to pronounce, the Martars, like the Smartars or something, Smarties. It's a movie, it was very disgusting. I don't know, it wasn't really disgusting, it was just very cruel film. It was about this one girl who was locked away as a kid in this room, like tied down, they were force feeding her, it was very, and she escapes and ends up being hospitalized with this one girl who's with her, and they become good friends. Years later, the girl, who when she's escapes from the hospital, goes after the people that did it to her, and she ends up killing them off. And then the whole time, though, the girl is seeing this creature, this cut-up girl. It's very disgusting, some of this movie. And then the girl ends up killing herself, and the friend ends up in the same situation the other girl was in. Oh, I'm going to warn you, though. I mean, this wasn't a bad movie, but it's really twisted. It's really, really twisted movie. And it's very strange they have a cut version of this, but it's very strange they even carry this at Walmart. Because Walmart knew what this was. I don't know what's different between the cut version. I got the unrated one. I did like this, though, but it was very twisted. Another one I got sent, a film from the director himself, A Few Loose Screws. It's basically about this guy named Extreme Dave, who's like an adult film producer, who one day sort of snaps and he goes off in a spree of killing people. And I don't know, I like this movie. I like this. My favorite stuff was the stuff with that took place in like a McDonald's with a guy making a sandwich, training this guy to make a sandwich. I don't know, that was my favorite stuff in it though. And everyone kept telling me about Big Lots. Everyone, like in all these updates, I've seen people bringing up Big Lots. I go to Big Lots. So I decided to actually go to Big Lots and see what they had. And I got a bunch of things. I got a flawed copy of Jawbreaker. See, with Big Lots, a lot of the stuff they get are flawed, I think. Like they're kind of like the reject copies sometimes. Because like this says presented in full screen, which I was mad about. But then I go and watch it, and it's in like a zoomed in widescreen that kind of like stretched out the full screen. There's some kind of a flaw with this. I don't know. I could not figure out what it was because I've never had this happen before. But this movie, Mean Girls, it's kind of like a Mean Girls mixed with Heathers. It's about this one girl that, like, these girls that for a prank kidnap this girl and put her in the car, and they gag her with a jawbreaker. She ends up choking in the jawbreaker and them trying to cover up what happened to her. I don't know, it was a pretty good movie though. The only thing with it that's really strange is that, I mean, these girls are supposed to be high schoolers, and every one of them was like in their late 20s to early 30s trying to pull it off. I mean, these do not look like high schoolers. And it's always strange when they do that. Sometimes it comes across funny. With this, it was just a little peculiar. The next one, I've never seen this one, and I've heard people talk about this all the time. It's Robert Englund's, I think the first movie he directed. He recently did the one Killer Pad, which was not that bad, that he did recently. This is his first movie, 976 Evil, and I think they made a sequel to this as well. This is another one I haven't got to look at it yet that says full screen, so maybe it's a flawed zoomed in one too. Another one I got, so I have to watch still, is The Item, which looked interesting about this package, like an independent film. I don't know, don't know a whole lot about it. This is one that I've been wanting to watch again for a while, the last John Hughes film that he directed, because like, I really wish he'd come back one day and direct another film, but I don't know, I guess after this experience, I don't know what happened that made him stop directing, but this is the last film he directed, Curly Sue, and this is really very, I don't know, the thing with this movie is, I really love the opening to it, and a lot of the movie is very good, but there's a lot of elements in this that seem really strange. It's pretty much a drama film, and they add in some of these, like, slapstick sound effect and like slapstick punches with slapstick sound effects and stuff that really wasn't fitting to this movie. And I don't know if it was added in later or if they were like we got to make this more comical because of all the other things that he directed before war, but this worked better, I thought, as being a straightforward drama about, you know, James Belushi's character, who took care of this girl. He was at a bar one night, and the girl, like, this woman, like, left this baby in there, and he ended up having to take care of her, and they were living on the streets, and they basically had this con where they would make it look like he got hit by cars, and con things, so they would get money out of people since they were living on the streets. And in this one, the one woman they con, ends up falling in love with James Belushi's character, and they end up letting them live in the house, and it's a very awkward situation. This is a very good film, though, but with, like they said, with these aspects that seem really out of place. That's the thing I always noticed. Now, this movie is something I remembered seeing I think I was in the 3rd or 4th grade. For one of my birthday parties, we had, like, a birthday at the movies. So, and, like, I always thought that was a strange idea, and the movie we had to see was not something I was positive about seeing. Mom's like, oh no, it's the sequel of Christmas Story. And I'm thinking, okay, I like the Christmas Story, this should be good. And it's My Summer Story. And oh my god, this movie is so bad. I hate this movie, and it makes me literally sick. And I remember when I was seeing this in the theater, I never was so bored in my life. It's basically about the kids, and the fun of this movie is them spinning these tops, and them all going, oh yeah, go, spin the tops. And I'm like, what is so exciting about these kids spinning tops? And I just never could relate to this movie and ever like it at all. And Charles Grodin is in this, and Mary Steenburgen is in this, and the thing that's kind of cool about this was just before this, they were together as a couple in Clifford. This is not like Clifford, this is not fun, this is just bad. And like, I tried to watch this again, I watched it about 10 minutes, and turned it off and put this away. I don't know, I just never liked this movie. I don't know, and I don't think I can find anyone who ever did. I mean, I give you everybody out there, try to watch this and let me know what you think if you haven't seen this. You can get it at Big Lots for $3. But, you know, this one looked interesting that I got there, and I watched this and liked it. It's called Vernon, Florida. It's basically follows around these the small town folks, these old people in Florida. And, like, they're real backwoods and they're behind what they're thinking. And it's just following them, talking to them about random stuff. There's no specific topics. It's just all these random things. The one guy's a turkey hunter. The other guy, like, works in a store. Then the one guy's this old guy who's always talking about the water and look at the beauty of this. This is great. This is like the kind of thing, like, after, like, a long day and you're, like, you know, crapped out, you don't really, you want to watch something sort of positive, this is something to watch. I think it'd be interesting to do a documentary now, just like a 20-minute thing, going back to this town, seeing what it looks like now, because this was shot in, like, 1982, so it'd be interesting to see if it's, like, looks the same still. And the last one I got, so I have to watch again, I saw this a while ago. It's the Guy Pearce film, The Proposition. It's like a Western film, which I did really like. I think it was Guy Pearce who had to kill his brother or something like that. The one Guy Pearce film that I really loved, that I'd love to get on Blu-ray if it comes out, is Ravenous, about the, you know, cannibal. That was a really cool film. Well, that was all the DVDs I've gotten over the last 2 weeks. I actually have a couple other ones that I haven't gotten to watch yet, so I'm going to show them in the next update, probably 2 weeks from now. Thanks again for everyone who was watching and for subscribing, and I'll see you all later.